So, hello everybody. Like I said, good evening, good morning, good day, wherever you're coming from. So we're here to talk about Astrology. We're launching the first online school of Astrology. I'm very excited about this. So I want to talk a little bit about what is Astrology. And this, sorry, my screen just glitched. Okay. So it's about revealing positive energy. It's more than just what it is on a piece of paper or on a screen. Charts, astrological charts, in and of themselves are neutral. They are calculations from when we are born, and we take our first breath. And so I always say that astrology is both intuitive and scientific, and we need to be able to blend the two together so that we are able to get a bigger picture. Because if it's too much intuition, then it goes off the deep end a little bit, and if it's too much science, then it doesn't really have that wisdom, that understanding. So we need to bring it together. This is what's really, really important. And when we look at a chart, and it doesn't matter if you know what it is or not, but when you look at a chart, it's more than just that two-dimensional piece of paper. We need to think of a chart as a map of a city even. And as you know, like city maps, they can be really difficult to navigate, but if we kind of know our way around and we can read the signs and the symbols, then it makes sense. Cities have streets, and they have districts, and they have rules, and they have regulations. So we need to think of it as a city to our own personal city, or for clients or your friends or your family, your loved ones that you're reading it for as well. It's really important that we see it as something more than just a chart. This is the first thing. One of the things that sets the Dash system apart is that it's we are more than the chart. Okay, more than the chart. So now at the same time, everything has a chart. Businesses have charts, situations have charts, events have charts. There can be a chart cast for anything, and we can see what the city is of that chart. So Astrology is really the spiritual recontextualization of astrology. It's a spiritual approach to astrology. Okay, so and it uses the spiritual laws and the energetic structures of man. So how things are flowing, how things manifest. This is all being explained with the Dash system. So therefore, we can heal through the chart. Okay. Now the question then arises, but how do we do that? Well, it's all about the interpretation. So the interpretation is very, 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 very key. The way that we interpret really anything in life is the way it will really influence how it manifests. It doesn't matter if it's a situation or relationship or something you read in a book or read in the news. It's our interpretation of the situation, of the event, that gives meaning to us. Okay? So when we interpret a chart, we are influencing the way that it manifests. Now, what even makes it more interesting is that there are many different systems of interpretation, okay, across the different systems and schools of astrology. And depending on which system you use is already going to determine the limitations or the benefits of the kind of manifestation that you're going to influence when you're reading for somebody else. So this is extremely, extremely important to understand, when we're looking at charts. Okay. And another thing that we need to keep in mind is that when we look at charts, we're not doing it with judgment. We're not doing it to accumulate information. We want to open doors into new realities. We don't want to box people in. We don't want to box in with the stereotypes and the understanding the limited understanding about these archetypes, which then become stereotypes. Okay, so very important. These different systems of astrology which allow for the manifestations. Okay, it's about the how it manifests. So with that said, I want to share a very beautiful quote, really showing this. Let me see here. It says here, "Man is not what he is because he was born when he was, but he was born when he was because he was potentially what he is." Very cool. Just take it in. So this really illustrates right here, right off the bat, the notion of the 3 times. Okay, so this really shows past, present, future are always changing. Okay, so the destiny, the future is always in a state of flux. It's changing, and every future has a matching past. Okay, and vice versa. So this way we can see past lives and we can see the destiny of what's to come. Now this is what allows the Dash system to be very unique in that it's, like I said, not boxing people in, but allowing people to really, get into that potential and break through into new worlds. So this is why this is such a beautiful quote. Okay, so hold on. I see that there's some. No, I'm not cutting out at all. It's all flowing. It's probably the connection. So I'll repeat it again. Man is not what he is because he was born when he was, but he was born when he was because he was potentially what he is. Okay? So before we keep going, I just want to get feedback from the students. Can you just tell me if you are hearing, if your connection is strong, if you're hearing? It should have done a connection test when it started, but if I can just get a consensus, because some people are having problems here, and if I can just say you're connected, you're not connected, whatever. Just let me know if you're able to plug in here. Okay. Everybody's okay. Perfect. Okay, so it's two. Okay, so I think the people that are having problems, it's probably your internet connection, but that's okay. This is all going to be uploaded. All the classes are uploaded. You can watch them later, and you'll see that it's nice and strong. So, okay. Okay, perfect. Very good. Okay. So let's see here. Going on. Okay, so yeah, this quote, like I said, it really illustrates the point of astrology is to transcend its influence, okay? To overcome, not to be boxed in and bound by it. So we can overcome astrological influences with religion, we can do it with spirituality, we can do it with our spiritual practice, but in the end, it all comes down to self-transformation, okay? However we get there, self-transformation by means of self-responsibility, okay? So self-responsibility is very key in order to come. Like this basically tells us that we are responsible for the situations that we're in. We are responsible for what's going on. It's not something to blame, and that transformation comes about by being self-responsible. So this is how we overcome the astrology. Okay, so, and this leads me to the next concept, is that in astrology we understand that we have 4 very important points. We have free will, destiny, purpose, and fate. Okay? Free will, destiny, purpose, and fate. So free will is the ego. It's the choices that we make. It's the part that it's like if we use the analogy of the astrological map as a city, it's like the driver in the car, okay, or the driver of the bike or whatever. Okay, destiny is the path that we take to fulfill our purpose, right? And purpose is the reason that we've been born. It's the contract that we have, if you will. And fate is the karma that gets in the way. So the free will is the driver. The destiny is the street that we take. The purpose is the GPS or where we are going. And the fate, is the debris or, the conditions of the road. Okay? So this is the analogy to what it is. These are four very, very, very important things to understand when doing the dash astrology. Okay, so like I said, there's more to a person than the calculations, than the birth chart, and we have to understand that the chart sets the framework. But these four things determine how that chart is going to be used. So it is, once again, we're understanding, again, more than the chart. So, and like I said, I just want to reiterate it, is that we don't learn astrology to judge, because when we judge, we hide the wisdom. We put a veil over our eyes, and then we cannot see the bigger picture, because then we're putting people into boxes. And when I've studied astrology, I mean, really since I was little, I studied everything in like every direction, and it was always like coming back to this. It seemed like astrologically racist, and it was just like, oh, this, Cancer is always like this because they're emotional and ruled by the moon, and or Gemini is overly mental because they're ruled by Mercury, and they this and that, and it's just it's boxing people in, and we need to know the archetypes and the stereotypes that are presented. But we have the free will to overcome our karma, activate our destiny, and to really essentially avoid the fate. Okay? So this is these are very important things that we need to understand when we're working with the astrological chart. Free will, destiny, purpose, and fate. So the degree to which we are willing to make necessary changes determines the impact the zodiac and the planets have over our lives. Okay, so again, it's about the self-responsibility. So when working with astrology, when we're looking at a chart, or we're working with people, it can bring things into awareness in a positive light with the solution in hand. So a good astrologer will point things out, but they will also always point out what the solution is to every negative aspect or challenge in a chart. It's being provided at the same time. Okay? So it's not about, like I said, giving the problems, and we always provide solutions. We always are providing solutions for positive manifestation, positive, strong interpretation of the chart. But then the question arises, okay, I think, does anybody, before are there any questions so far? Let me see, I'm scanning through here. If you have any questions, let's type them in now. I know you guys have a lot of questions that you've sent me, so I saved those for the end. But if you have any questions about what I'm talking about right now, please feel free to ask. Somebody's typing. Let's see. Yeah, okay, everybody's typing now. Okay, so I'll just okay. I lose the image here and there. Okay, but you can hear me clearly. Perfect. Nice. Well said. So audio is more important than visual in this case, unless you can read lips. Okay. Okay, very good. All right. So nice. Okay. So when okay, so let's see. There's a few more people typing still. Okay, I'm having a personal question. I always appreciated good astrology so much. Okay, I'm gonna post this. Let's see. So we have, let's see here. I want everybody else to see this. Just a moment. Okay. Okay. So Johanna asks, I'm having a personal question. I always appreciated good astrology so much, but never got the entrance to do that for myself. Is that a karmic hindrance? Yeah, it could be a fate. It could be something that was, a debris in the way if, accessing it, or maybe you were just waiting for this system. Or, I mean, everybody has their timing. So definitely, I don't know if it's a hindrance or not. I can't say that, but we know that in astrology, timing is everything. So it's, yeah. Thank you for the question. Okay. So. Okay. So if there's no more questions, I'm gonna. That answered your question, right? Okay, perfect. So now we're gonna go on now because Agate is still typing, but it's. I hope it's not a novel when it comes, but we'll deal with it if it is. Okay. So so the question arises: how do we know what to change and when? Okay. This is the question that arises. This fits really nicely. What the question was is, is it a hindrance? How do I know when to change, and what is it that I'm supposed to change? Well, nothing is random. Everything has a purpose. So again, it's about the interpretation. Our actions have meaning. Okay? Nothing is random. This applies to everything. If we are in a state of healing, for example, or if we're being held at gunpoint, there is a reason for this. There is a purpose. Okay, when we're working in Dash Astrology, we understand that nothing is random, and like I said, it's about timing. Now, what's really interesting is that when we overcome the influence, right? Then we are outside of time and space, and it's at this point that we can actually transcend physicality, and we can activate, we can activate the inspiration that comes from the higher realms. And this is in the form of ideas. This is in the form of insights and being in alignment with, higher energy. And we know that, an idea can change your life. If you have an idea and you act upon it, it can change the world. So we want to get to that state so that we can get these ideas, that we can get these insights, and then do something with it. And this is what you can do when you're reading charts for others. You can help people to see these things, and make these changes so that they can be in alignment. So this is something that we're doing in Dash Astrology that's really empowering for people. Okay, so we understand that nothing is random, but at the same time, there are two types of randomness. Okay, everybody with me still? Okay. We have passive randomness And we have proactive randomness, passive randomness, and proactive randomness. Okay, so with passive randomness, as you may have guessed, it's, we are a victim to circumstance or victim to our astrology. Things are happening to us chaotically or randomly. I put it in quotes. We are subject to this, we are subject to that. Okay? So this is the passive randomness that happens. Proactive randomness is, where we gain the insights and that we need so that we can get the foresight and transcend all the unexpected randomness or occurrences and the karma, okay, that's being really essentially projected from our unconscious brain, if you will, okay? So the proactive randomness is really being able to make something with it, to really, things that are coming up unexpectedly, and the passive randomness is something that's happening to us, okay? Now, ultimately, we want to eliminate randomness, with having an attitude or consciousness shift, and any kind of chaos that's coming with it altogether. Because when we do that, then it's not random anymore, but we become what's called co-creators of our reality. And this is something that we want to do. This is the key that we want to give people, when we're reading charts, is to become a co-creator and not to be, subject or object to randomness, or to have like these, really random things just happen, right? So to really, okay, so everybody still with me? Okay. So to really elaborate on this, I'm gonna give you guys your first applicable lesson, something that you can use astrologically. And let me see, I just have to get my pen here. It's not something you have to stress out or worry about. Here we go. This here is an astrological wheel divided into 4 parts. Don't worry about, knowing anything at this point, because this is your first lesson, okay? So I want to illustrate the idea of being passive, right? Things happening to you, subject and object, and being proactive, like doing things, right? Going out, initiating things, okay? And we can actually see this in the chart, right? Okay, so this here is an astrological chart, as I said, divided into 4 sections. Let me just get my pen here. Let me see. Just a minute. Okay, so so you have to think of this as the chart, and over here I'm just going to abbreviate. Here's the ascendant. Okay, so that's our rising sign. And here's the descendant. And down here is what's called the nadir, which is given N. Okay? And up here is what's called the midheaven. Like I said, don't worry about all this. This is just to give us a point of reference. This is going to all make sense. We cover this in depth in level 2. Now, I want to change the color. Let me see. No, I can leave it the same. So the vertical line from the midheaven to the nadir, as it comes down, okay? This vertical line is the divider. So it's the separation between the proactive approach and the passive approach. So to the right of the line, is the passive approach. Okay? And to the left of the line is the proactive. Should be able to move the... There we go. Okay. So we have the proactive and the passive. Okay? So without even knowing anything about anything in astrology, we don't know about the symbols, we don't know about the angles, nothing. Okay? We can just, look at the chart and we can see these black things in the chart, and we can already get an idea of how this person approaches things. Okay, so we have to, but first, before we do that, we have to think of ourselves as babies. You know, like we're learning astrology, right? We're learning astrology, and you know, when babies, they can't, all they see is colors and shapes. They can't make sense of anything. So at this point, we're just looking at the shapes of things. We're just counting and looking and seeing where the things are. So, like for example, if we have some black things here, we have no idea what this is. We don't care what this is. Okay? Okay? We're just looking at, there are more black things on the left of the line. Okay? So this means that this person approaches life in a very proactive way. Okay? Let me see. Now if I were to take some of these black things away, right? We have them over here, some over here. Okay? So now what does this tell us? How does this person approach life? Good morning, good evening, good day. Very good. Wonderful, you guys. Sorry, I didn't see that you were typing. Somehow my chat went away. Yeah, wonderful. Perfect. So this person he's more of a recipient. He's more receiving, things are happening to this person. Whereas the proactive person is doing things, the passive person, things are happening to him. Perfect. Very good. So now it's very important, once again, that one is not better or worse than the other. Okay, this is very important. It doesn't mean anything that one is good and one is bad. It's just the way that it's being approached. Okay, so it's something to keep in mind that, you know, each side has benefits and downsides, and we can, you know, overcome them. This is something that we want to really, you know, bring into awareness. Okay, so remember, yes, there's no victims. It's just receiving, like, you know, receiving things are happening, and proactive is going out and doing things. So now I want to give you a really good example to illustrate. Okay, good. So I want to give a really good example of how to illustrate like how this isn't good or bad. at all. So let's see, we're going to look at some charts here. I'm going to pull them up. Okay, so we're all clear on as far as this is. All right. Okay. So these two charts are born a matter of days apart from each other. And we can see already from what we learned that they both show us how they're approaching life. Okay? So the chart on the left here has many planets on the left side of the vertical line. So this is a proactive approach. And the chart on the right has many planets on the right, and this is a very passive approach. Okay? Now, like I said, neither is good nor bad. These two charts that you're looking at here are charts of the most famous pop stars and probably the most famous people on our earth of all time. Okay, so the chart on the left is the chart of Madonna, and the chart of the right is the chart of Michael Jackson. Okay, and now it's aside from it being like really intense because they were both born in August of 1958. They were both born in the Midwest of the United States of America. They were both, the huge culturally impacted our world. They were at the top of their respective fields, and they really they made a lot of changes in the world, and like in terms of our culture. And we see that all of Madonna's planets, most of them are on the left, and Michael's are on the right. Okay, so let's just start with Madonna's side. She has, she really asserted herself. This is the part of assertion. She really dictated her career. She lost her mother when she was young. She was faced with a lot of adversity. She went to New York City in poverty. She was raped, but nothing stopped her. She used everything that was around her, and made the best of what she had. And it was only a matter of years until she really became famous, and really the most famous female pop star of all time, and best-selling as well. And we also need to keep in mind is that the East, I gave you a really good image of this, is that the East is where the sun rises. Okay, so this is actually, this area over here is the Eastern. Like when it's on the left, it's the Eastern. It's reversed in astrology, and the other side is the Western, and that's where the sun sets. That's where things come to a closure. That's where things are kind of ending. So so in contrast, we're looking at Michael Jackson's chart. His planets are in the West, the exact opposite direction. Okay, now his parents pushed him into the entertainment life. He received, these opportunities. It's not like he went out. He started when he was really young. It was really done for him. It was a passive recipient of that, so-called destiny, right? It was a family business. It was like really served to him. Now, see, they both made, remember, we had those four things of the fate, the destiny, and, this is really, really important that we understand that, because, it's not good or bad. It's what we make with it. And this is like, how do we say it? Like, this is a really good example of how these two people with essentially opposite charts in terms of directions, because there's many other things that we could say about these charts. I mean, how they're mirroring each other is really, really impressive. But we can see it, that it's part of that that we were talking about earlier. And I also just want to mention, because this is not common knowledge. This example here, it's not really something that's written about. And this is a gift of mine, that I'm able to really find things. The secrets on the deepest level. I have what's called Pluto in the first house. this means I really get to the bottom of things. I can really figure out what's going on, and I can really find all the secrets. I'm always very much guided, to find these secrets and share them with the world. I think there's more chat here going on, but I don't see it. Okay, so this is one of my gifts that I have. So it's really, really funny because, I mean, it's like I didn't know these charts. Like, I was preparing this class. I mean, it's like I have so many charts, I can't remember everybody's chart. And I was trying to find charts of an example, because I thought, how am I gonna find this? Like I really want to show you guys an example of how this is working. And when I'm writing, when I'm working, I turn on iTunes or Spotify or whatever. In this case, actually, it was iTunes. And I put on shuffle, and I just allow the music to carry me as I'm working, and I kind of, it's just telling me, it's guiding me. And so I was writing this when I was preparing for the class, and it was like all of a sudden a Madonna song would come on, and then a Michael Jackson song would come on, and then another Madonna song would come on, and then another Michael Jackson song would come on. And I was looking for charts. And it wasn't that it was stuck in M in my library. Like, no, it wasn't like that. It was like, seriously, it was on shuffle, and then like a couple other songs would come, and then another Madonna song, and then another Michael Jackson song. I was like, what is going on here? I mean, you guys, geez, this is really, this is like a sign. So I thought, okay, I'm just gonna pull up their charts and see what's going on. And okay, so let me see here. I pulled up the charts, and I was like, wow, oh my God, this is really intense. Like, they have like similar charts, and they're on the exact, they are like an exact opposite. Yeah, really, yeah, that's right. I have like at least 10,000 songs in my library, to give context there. Yeah, sorry. And it was like completely opposite. I was like, unbelievable. This is just one of these guidance. This is one of these things that happen that then I can see this, because you have no idea how difficult it was, like trying to find the charts that can really depict this. And it's not just like I just picked two random people. These people are like, in the same field, like Madonna and Michael Jackson. I even Googled like the most influential, let me see if I can share that with you guys, actually. Like the most influential pop stars of all time, and it's Michael Jackson and Madonna. Then Elvis Presley, but Michael Jackson and Madonna. Like, just really, really, really interesting. Okay, so, and there's this database online from Astrodienst, and they have all the birth time, and I think it was like LaToya Jackson or somebody who confirmed Michael's birthday. So it was like, you always want to make sure you get the right data. That's also a very important thing, is before you do chart readings, like you want to like confirm and double confirm the birth time, the birth location. Always go with like the birth chart, because mother's memories are not really that accurate, because they just had a baby. So it's, you want to, make sure you have the right birth time, when you're working with this stuff. Okay, so this is like just part of one of my gifts, and I always find like the weak spots also, like in the secrets that need to be penetrated and broken through. I remember like I would always find things with Apple, for example, and they couldn't resolve the problem, so they would just like send me products. So I'm just sharing this this with you guys, and I'm really excited about that. So this is an example. The proactive and the passive, same career, and this is what it is. Okay, and so like I said, I can say I could probably write a lot and talk a lot about these two charts, and I might do it, but it's a really, because this is like such a really big discovery in terms of our culture, and astrology makes a good example for that. So this is really, really, really cool. And also for those of you who are like, oh, you get a little bit of taste of how I work, how I do things, because this is how I found Dash. I'll get into that in a minute, like how this all started. But like I figure things out, I find them, and this is like just really amazing to share this with you guys. So yeah, and like I can just get into that now, actually, because it was like when it was like Aurelia, my wife, is like she's a very wise expert about the archetypes, right? The 22 archetypes of creation. And when she first started teaching me about them, I mean, I was getting so excited, and and I started to figure out how they were connected to astrology. Because remember, I was always loving astrology since I was little, and so like I was like, oh, we have to talk about astrology and see how this all figures out. And she says to me, well, I would love to talk to you about astrology, but you need to learn the basics first. And I was just like, the basics first? I mean, okay, like, yeah, I'm gonna do that. So this was a long time ago, and ever since then, I've been learning the basics, and I still am, because it's really interesting, because as I was learning these basics from these different systems, I discovered these secrets, these inconsistencies. Like this system wasn't making sense here, and this system wasn't making sense there, and this is how I essentially, compiled the Dash system, is figuring out all these secrets that have, been withheld from the layman, from mankind, throughout all time. And then astrological systems, they are being passed down, and they're not being challenged. And some astrologers, some of my my teachers, if you will, or the ones that I've studied from, they've often said that nobody has challenged these things, and there will come a time when they need to be challenged, because if it's just being passed down and no one is really, really looking at the origin, the source, then things get, kind of dogmatic in a way. And, we're entering Taurus, and that rules dogma. So it's just, timing's all right. So, but that said, we can see here, what is the basis of Dash astrology? Well, as stated, it's the spiritual okay, let me see, is there a question? No questions. Okay. Very good. It's the spiritual recontextualization of astrology, okay, as stated, and it's the we call it Astrolochi because it's astrology, and Chi because we explain how the Chi in the world, in the body, is affected. Okay, and I want to read this as bold. It says, Dash astrology only indicates the karmic patterns that we are born with before our free will intensifies, overcomes, or resolves these patterns, and before our destiny tests them in action. Okay, this is very important. Now, going back, moving on with the notion of archetypes, is that everything in this world can really be broken down into an archetype. Everything. And this is the basis of Dash astrology, is that we're working with the archetypes, the 22 archetypes, and even more so the 36, but we'll get into that later, from the tarot, which were originally written about by Abraham the Patriarch in the Book of Formation about 3,000 years ago. And Abraham the Patriarch, he's the father of monotheism. He's the first sage to realize that we are all connected and we are one. Okay, so he wrote this book about all the secrets of these archetypes, and then he encoded it so it wouldn't fall into false hands. Okay, and he wrote about the rulerships, and so this is the source. This is where the information is coming from. So encrypting emails today, this is really important, that things are being protected, and then he would pass it down verbally. So when the wisdom would go down without the verbal transmission, then it would just be taken literal. And we know when things are taken literally, they're taken out of context. This is why we call it the spiritual recontextualization. Let me see, am I behind on the chat? No, okay, good. So it was to really protect the wisdom from being abused or misused. So now the downside is that the like I said, the true associations were passed down literally, and they were not. The archetypes were mixed up a bit in terms of the astrological understanding, the archetypal understanding of what's really going on. Okay. Let's see here. So Now there have been great minds in that have influenced astrology, the development of astrology, and this is like been obviously Abraham the patriarch, the father of monotheism, and let's see the. Sorry, I'm just making sure the chat's okay. You know, and then there's Donolo and Ezra, Paracelsus, Johannes Kepler, William Lilly. All of these have been really influential in understanding the archetypes and, you know, compilating astrology. Let me see here. And it's really interesting because when we're talking about a system that's working, and then of course Alexander already explained how that happened, but so when we're looking at a system, you know, it's that chi. Remember, the chi is how things are flowing. Okay, so in Dash Astrology we work with the chakras and the meridians and everything, but as any electrician knows, if there is a short circuit, there's no circuitry. So I have a really good example for this. Like when my wife and I moved into our brand new home, okay, brand new, we had the luxury of being able to work out all the kinks. So when you move into a new house, you have to do that because, you know, maybe it's something the contractors, you know, forgot, they oversaw, or, you know, only first-time residents of a new house really have that luxury of really working out the kinks, right? So one day I wanted to plug in my iPad. I think it was because we rearranged some furniture like a year after living in our new home, and there was a socket, you know, that I needed to use because we changed some things around, and I had never used the socket before. Okay, so I needed to charge my iPad, and so I plugged it in, and it, you know, made the tone ding. You know, it was great and everything. And as soon as it made that ding, the entire circuit board blew out half of the house. Now, I'm not sure if it was the passive side or the proactive side of the house, but it blew out completely. I mean, it was really scary. So we went and turned it back on, fixed the circuit board, plugged in the phone, bam, went out again. So, okay, so, all right, electronic stuff, you know, don't want to mess with that. So we called the company who wired the house, and sure enough, they came and they found an ungrounded wire. I mean, really scary. Ungrounded wire. I mean, you know how dangerous this is. This was an ungrounded, like, thank God nothing happened. So now there are a few things to realize from this, because this socket, they fixed it and that was great, and then I could charge my iPad and it was amazing. Now, this is an analogy because this socket was there for a year, okay? So that means that everything seemed okay. That socket was not okay. Things were not okay, but we didn't know it because we never used it, right? So the second thing is we need to realize is that, you know, we were protected and that nothing happened, but as soon as necessity kicks in, right? So passive, proactive, necessity, something is asking something of us. If there is a miswire on any level, right, there will be a short circuit, okay? And then it will show up. But so we want to find these short circuits before necessity dictates what it is that we need to do, so energetically speaking. And this is true also for the system of Dash, because these short circuits have been worked out from other systems. And this is what Dash is that it has that ability to iron these things out, heal, remember, heal the chart, heal these short circuits so that, you know, that doesn't happen. So these astrological influences, the socket, you know, ignorance cannot protect you, because when you need that, you're going to be hit with energy, and if the channels are not wired right, you're going to get fried, okay? So this is what this is really about. And so in the same way, when the wisdom was being passed down, miswired on purpose to protect the flow from not getting into the wrong hands, this is what happened. But now this has been unveiled, and we're going to get into that as we learn more about astrology you know, and all these really, really amazing things. So, oh yeah, and just in case anybody's curious, DASH stands for Dharmaceuticals Archetypal Synergistic Healing. And that's everything I have for you guys today. This is the intro level class. So the next class, level 1, is we're going to be working with the 4 elements. And this is going to be a 5-week program, 5-week class, and we're going to be working with fire the first week, and then air, and then water and earth. Okay, so this is what we're working on next. This is what we're starting with, because the elements are what make up everything. Okay, so now I want to go over some of these questions that you guys have. So let me see. Let me just pull them up. So some of you were asking me about missing classes. Now, there's really no need to worry about that, because all the classes are going to be recorded, and then they're going to be uploaded, you know, so that you can watch them afterwards, so that, you know, you don't miss anything. Okay. So it's not something that you can fall behind in, really, because you can really catch up. Now, if you're like fall behind like a whole class, then, you know, talk to me. We can figure it out. Or if you want to transfer in, you know, that's also okay. You talk to me. We can, you know, figure it out. Now, also some of the other questions were, let's see, it's about certification and a title after the class. If you pass the test, like if you learn, yeah, I mean, you're like I said, we're starting like little babies, and then we're gonna get there. So yeah, you're gonna be a DASH astrologist, an astrologician. You know, this is what I want you guys to have. I want you guys to be able to, you know, use all these secrets and this wisdom and the right circuitry, so that you're able to help your loved ones, help your clients, you know, whatever. This is what this is about. Okay. Now I think it's pretty obvious about what the advantages are of the DASH technique. I covered that. Let's see. Somebody asked if they can take a break. Absolutely. Of course you can take a break. The classes are a week at a time, so we're working with each archetype, each aspect of the archetypes. Like, you know, like, so we're working with fire for a week, so like that's like the fire week. So like you're going to be in the fire week, and then you're going to be in the water week. You're really going to get a really deep, clear understanding of what that archetype is. Then water and earth, and this is all in the DASH system. It hasn't been done before. It just hasn't been done before. So if you want to take a break for like a week or two, or a month, or, you know, whatever, like, you can't, you know, you want to let me know. We have the Google Classroom where, you know, we can keep track of the discussion and keep the discussion going after the lectures and after the teachings. And this is what's really important. It's like, I want you guys to ask questions, because this is the point. Because I can just give you all kinds of text and then you can read it, but I want you to ask questions. I want you to engage. I want you to really learn. Okay, so this is what this is about. Let me see. Yeah, so there's that private classroom. Okay. Yes, it's 1 lecture per week, and it's just an hour, and we really get into it. And we have that follow-up support, you know, in the Google Classroom, like I said. Now, how long is this going to take? I have it, like, each class, it's all on my website. It's all there. Like, there's several weeks depending on how many archetypes we need to go over. But for this syllabus, we have it from April until December. I haven't figured out how to teach the astrology. I mean, I'm kind of like touring around and teaching it in person right now, but I haven't figured out that part yet. But the 7 classes, because there are 8 classes, but I haven't figured out the 8th one, but 1 through 7 is for the levels. It's for April to December. And there is no deadline, really. I mean, that's also what we did it that way. Is like, you can buy each class individually if you want. So it's, if you don't want to sign up for the whole course, you can buy it, or if it's just better for cash flow. But if you prepay, obviously you get a better deal. Like, there's a discounted price for it. Okay. So there's lots of homework. And so your first assignment due next week, I need a 500-word paper on why you want to learn DASH astrology. So if you have access to the Google Classroom, like if you've signed up, then you have access to it. You can do it there, and then I'll be able to read it and, you know, check it all out and everything. So That's your first assignment, is a 500-word paper on why you want to learn astrology. Okay? So just share it with me. Tell me, and you can write it in any language you want. You can write it. It doesn't matter. I'll figure it out. It's just write it in the language that's best for you, and then this is you're really telling me what it is that why you want to learn astrology. So if you don't have any other questions, then we're finished. So I'll give you guys a minute or so to ask any leftover questions that you might have. Okay, thank you for the feedback. Wonderful. Cool. So after I end this, you'll be then taken to a screen and you can sign up for level 1 and if you want to do that. And don't forget to give me your homework before we start fire next week. Okay. Wonderful. Good, you guys. I'm glad. Okay. Nice. So I look forward to working with you guys next week. We start with the fire element. And let's see. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with Agathe. Probably contact her afterwards. Yes, yes, yes. Perfect. Okay. Wonderful. Okay, you guys, see you all next week, and I wish you a wonderful, wonderful time. And thank you once again. Bye.